And welcome everyone to our AP Top 25 Bleacher Report reaction. Listen again, we're going to break this down. You can find this on Bleacher Report, MBB, March Madness MBB on most social accounts, whether it's Instagram, X, Blue Sky, and of course, NCAA.com. All right, so a quick reminder that the AP Top 25 is a collection of, bunch of voters. I think at one point it was like 65 people across the country. Some people have held on to their AP Top 25 vote, for decades. And some people just don't pay attention. And I think we can get right into this, in terms of people are just looking at name recognition. They're looking at, looking at teams that are traditionally teams that that are normally in this grouping. All right, so let's get into it here. Auburn 1, Duke 2, Iowa State 3, Alabama 4, and Florida 5. So Auburn 1, Janai Broome comes back. They beat Tennessee at home. Duke 2, great road win at Wake Forest. Iowa State 3, right there near the top of the Big 12. Alabama right behind Auburn in the SEC, Florida right behind them. Let me pause. So, Houston at 6. Okay, were people paying attention? Because Houston at 6 makes no sense that they are behind all these other schools when they just won at Kansas, which, as you see on your screen, the AP Top 25 puts at 11. Iowa State lost to West Virginia. I still think Iowa State's a Final Four candidate, but that's irrelevant for this purposes. Houston should be in that top 5. And I think right now, they should be ahead of Iowa State. Got a road sweep, home over Utah, winning at Houston. Michigan State, only undefeated team in the Big Ten, knocked off Rutgers at Madison Square Garden. Tennessee ended up losing to Auburn the week before. They lost to Vanderbilt. I think Tennessee could go a little further down. We'll see where I had them. Marquette right now is the best team in the Big East. Purdue, avenging the shocking home loss to Ohio State, and playing pretty well on Friday night by dismantling Michigan. There was no way Purdue was going to lose 2 in a row at Mackey. Kansas at 11. Again, I think they should probably fall a few spots after losing at home to Houston. Kentucky, A&M, Mississippi State, you get your trio of SEC teams. Missouri at 20. I'm okay with all that grouping in some form or fashion. St. John's, right there pushing Marquette. They're tied atop the standings. Well deserving at 15. Oregon, I would have dropped the Ducks. Again, are you paying attention? They lost at Minnesota. Okay? Wisconsin, 17, strong outing on Sunday, destroying Nebraska after losing early in the week at UCLA late. Illinois, bounce back win Sunday against Northwestern after losing at home to Maryland. Where's Maryland? I don't get it. I don't get it. Maryland went on the road and beat Illinois and Indiana. I challenge the teams ahead outside of maybe that top 4 or 5, well, I'm including Houston here, how many would go on the road and sweep that road trip? What does Maryland have to do? What does Maryland have to do to get in the top 25? And look, they got a hard schedule coming up. They got to play Wisconsin. I'll be there on Wednesday. But the rankings deal with what we are seeing from last week. Now, it's obviously a compilation of last week and the big picture. So it can't just be you were winless and suddenly had 2 good wins last week and you should be ranked. But Maryland has been pretty good over the last 2 weeks. So I don't know where they are. They're missing. Makes no sense. Memphis, good week in the American. You see Missouri, Louisville, Pat Kelsey's doing an outstanding job. Texas Tech got a win on Sunday. Ole Miss, again, I have no issue with all that. Vanderbilt, glad that Vanderbilt's getting respect. So there's a positive. Vanderbilt with a home win over Kentucky. Last week they beat Tennessee. Mark Byington doing an outstanding job with the Commodores. And here's Baylor. I don't know. I'm a little miffed that they are where they are. So, let's look at what I had in comparison. So I had Auburn, Duke, Houston, Alabama, Iowa State. That's my top 5. Okay? Then I had Michigan State, Purdue, Marquette, Tennessee, Florida. You could switch the Florida, Tennessee, and I'm fine with that. I just thought Tennessee was playing better than Florida this week. I know a couple weeks ago, Florida crushed Tennessee. If you want to play with that, but I think Tennessee is ultimately a better team than Florida. They're right there to win at Auburn. That's a fair assessment. Missouri went in and beat Florida. St. John's, Wisconsin, Memphis, Vanderbilt. So I got Vanderbilt higher at 14. Then I got Kansas, Missouri, Creighton. Again, where is Creighton? A&M, Mississippi State, Louisville, Clemson. Again, where's Clemson? Maryland, Illinois, New Mexico. So New Mexico won at UNLV. They're tied with Utah State atop the Mountain West Conference. They play later this week. Donovan Dent's an All-American, 34 in their game. So right off the bat, in my 25, no Maryland on the AP Top 25, no Creighton, no Clemson, no New Mexico. Arizona, Texas Tech, Utah State, St. Mary's, Ole Miss, Texas. Texas had a great week. Beat Missouri and A&M. Xavier, I gave some love to. And then there's UConn at 33, barely holding on. Xavier beat UConn. I know Liam McNeely's still out. UCLA paying better. George Mason of VCU atop the A-10 tied. And then Cleveland State, little love for the Vikings. They've won 12 in a row. All right, let's shift to, first of all, my team of the week was Houston. Houston absolutely destroyed Utah. Only gave up, I think, 36 points. And then they came back. I mean, they were left for dead multiple times. And they came back and knocked off Kansas in Lawrence. Player of the week, Julian Reese from Maryland. Just had a phenomenal week for the Terps. I think he had 27 against Illinois, 14 boards. 27 against Illinois. That should be Indiana. Versus Indiana, he had 14 and 10. So 27 against Illinois, and versus Indiana, 14 and 10 in their their road sweep. My top 10 games of the week. I know Carolina's struggling, but Duke Carolina's number one every year. Every year that game is played, it's number one. Again, Indiana struggling. These are great rivalry games. Indiana, Purdue. I snuck in New Mexico, Utah State because I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. It's going to be a wild atmosphere. For those being a little critical on X, go check out a game in Logan. Watch a game in Logan. That place is going to be absolutely insane. So right off the bat, Cameron, Mackey, Logan, Utah, Moraga, California, Gonzaga at St. Mary's. And it's really a big game for Gonzaga. Those four atmospheres right off the bat, tremendous. Check it out this week. Florida, Tennessee, I think is going to be a great game. It's the rematch of Florida beating Tennessee handily. So we'll see how the Vols flip the script. Arkansas is really struggling. Only one SEC win. The reason that's on the list is because Cal's coming back to Lexington. It's going to be raucous. I was there when Pitino came back with Louisville to Kentucky, and it got a little nasty. Wisconsin, Maryland should be a top 25 game. It's not in the AP top 25, but it should have been. I'll be there Wednesday night. Iowa State, Arizona, I think is going to be a great game at McHale. Arizona has flipped the script on their season, so that'll be really interesting. And then we got Kentucky, Tennessee. That's earlier in the week. And then Auburn, Ole Miss. Ole Miss quietly steadying the ship there in the SEC. And this could be Auburn's first SEC loss. We'll wait and see what happens there. So that's my top 10 this week of games I'm most interested in. There are others. You can have a different opinion. Let's go to some questions. No North Texas, Memphis at 19. Well, here's the deal with North Texas. Don't have the great non-conference. They're playing really well. Let's see what happens. They're on the outside looking in as a possible at large. Arizona needs to be ranked again. I had them on the cusp. Yeah. You ask if New Mexico will be ranked if they beat Utah State at the Spectrum. One would think, but I have no trust or confidence in the AP poll voters. How can Illinois still be at number 20? Good question, because Maryland should be ahead of them. Where is Texas? I have Texas, on the back end. I just want you to think about what Maryland has done, okay? First of all, the combination Derek Queen and Julian Reese. It's two of the best big men in the country combinations. Then you bring in Jacoby Gillespie, Selton Miguel, and Rodney Rice. Those three guards I'd put up against any backcourt in the country. So they have a five that, when they're on, could go pretty far in March. Just file that away. Students are going to be back, by the way, on Wednesday, so it's going to be a great atmosphere. Can Memphis climb to a 3 seed by Selection Sunday? Can they? Sure. Win out. Michigan's unranked. How do I feel about that? Well, they got absolutely bludgeoned Friday night at Purdue. Why am I so low on Texas Tech? I'm waiting for them to have like a high-level Big 12 W, which could come. Look, Creighton with Ryan Kalkbrenner and Ashworth, that's a great 1-2 punch. Beat UConn. They should be ranked. I ranked them. A&M blew a 22-point lead and doesn't drop. Good question. Where is Clemson? Well, check out my Power 37. What has UConn done to deserve their ranking? Well, I had them at we had a mistake there. Okay. I had them at 30. So let's go back here, okay? We had a mistake in our graphic because I'm seeing this the same time you are. UConn at 25. I don't get it. All right. UConn won 2 national championships. That's in the rearview mirror. It's a good team. Their top draft pick on this team, he's hurt, Liam McNeely. They don't have Stephon Castle. They don't have Donovan Clingan. Go back the year before when they had Andre Jackson, Hawkins. Klingon, Sonogo. They had pros. Fair number of them. Just Newton was an outstanding lead guard. So UConn loses to Xavier, and they stay ranked. I don't get it. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand why UConn's ranked. I don't understand why Maryland's not ranked. Why did Oregon not drop after losing to Minnesota? And Minnesota's playing well, but I mean, come on. I don't know. This is not a good indication of people paying attention. Were you watching too much NFL this weekend? Did you do this sort of half asleep Sunday night? I don't understand. You voters got to pay more attention. Wake Forest tourney chances. Let one slip through against Duke. You're gonna have to go on a nice little run. Beat those teams right up there. Beat Clemson, beat Louisville, beat Pitt, beat Carolina. Win those kinds of games. Can Duke make a real run in the tourney? Of course, they can win the whole thing. Well, Janai Broome is not healthy. We know that 100%, but he did come back. And yes, Auburn can win if he's not 100%. Will they win the whole thing? We'll have to wait and see. What team's been the most impressive with where we started and where we are? I would say probably Michigan State. Did not see them as a top 10 team after they lost to Kansas. And then I saw them lose to Memphis. So I saw both those games. Thought they'd be good. I didn't think they'd will have won 12 in a row and be undefeated in the Big Ten at this point. Now their schedule's a little more backloaded. We'll see. But still, I'd say they're the team that has improved the most. Didn't see Vanderbilt coming. Obviously, Missouri's flip is phenomenal. They were 0-18 in the SEC last year. And Louisville. Pat Kelsey's done a great job. That's the other one I would say. The mass improvements. Is Iowa State getting beat tonight? Talking about Arizona. I think they might. I can't tell you why Houston is not moving up. I don't know. Sparty's chances of cutting down the net. Well, never dismisses those chances. Akins has to continue to play at a high level. Their sophomore class continues to improve. And as long as they're bigs, just continue to just do what they're supposed to do. Don't try to do too much. Sort of bigs by committee. Then they got a chance. I think Alabama's got a great shot to get back to the Final Four. I thought that in the preseason. Sears is starting to play like an All-American again. How do I feel about 19-23? I think I said that. I'm okay with the teams. They're a little higher in Texas Tech than me, but I'm okay with it. I mean, they're all NCAA tournament teams. They're all going to fall in that 19-27 range, so I'm all good with that. Not worried about any of those teams. Mizzou's next three: Mississippi State, Tennessee, A&M. If they were to win those three, yeah, sure, they're going to jump up into the teens for sure, one would think, but how can we predict anything in this poll? You can't. West Virginia, especially with all the injuries they've been dealing with, Javon Small has been phenomenal. I don't know who saw that coming, but we all knew that Darren DeVries was a great coach. San Diego State's got a tournament resume, but not a ranking resume. That's what I'd say about San Diego State. Let's take one or two more. will the SEC have the NCAA champ? I mean, right now I would predict it. I would say, if you were to tell me SEC or Duke versus the field, I would take SEC or Duke versus the field. So that's where I would lean right now. I think that we talked about Louisville, talked about West Virginia, talked about Arizona. All right. So you can check out chats that Seth Davis and I are having, I think weekly. I think we're going to have one more this week. Another bracket comes out tomorrow. That's on various social media platforms. Should be on Bleacher Report, as well as NCAA.com, March Madness MBB. Check out some of my conversations on my feed at the Andy Katz. Got a conversation tomorrow with Vanderbilt's Mark Byington. Throughout the course of this week, on my feed, you will see conversations with each person who runs the 5 metrics that the NCAA Men's Basketball Committee uses. So on Monday, I had a conversation with Ken Palm. That's Ken Pomeroy. Check that out. Also, my Meet the Men's Basketball Selection Committee series. I've been profiling each one of the 12 members the last month. That'll continue. Check that out. Also, little preview. Got a great convo coming out with former national championship coaches Roy Williams, Jay Wright, and Tony Bennett. All 3 have since retired. They're the last 3 men's basketball national championship coaches who have most recently retired. So, Jay Wright, Roy Williams, Tony Bennett, look out for that conversation as well on my feed at the Andy Katz, on Instagram at the Real Andy Katz, and you can check that out. We'll see if it populates in some of these other platforms as well. As always, appreciate our producer Caitlin Schmidt and our team in Atlanta, New York. We will talk again next week. Hopefully the poll voters get it right. Got to have Maryland in there. I think New Mexico, UConn should be out. Oregon lower. Hopefully they get it right.